Have we ever stopped to question why we have so many people trying to come to the UK? Is the world a safer place? If we set aside the fact that these aren't just people and just look at the hard numbers, the Illegal Migration Act will give more powers to control the borders.
If they're fleeing war, why aren't they staying in France? The question that silenced an Islamist migrant defender in our heated debate. Watch as she attempts to justify illegal immigration while contradicting her own argument about war refugees. Her meltdown begins when confronted with the simple fact: most migrants crossing the Channel aren't coming directly from war zones, but from safe European countries. This debate exposes the economic motivations behind illegal immigration that many politicians refuse to acknowledge. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. We're witnessing a fascinating case of argumentative collapse in real time here. The Islamist migrant appearing in this heated debate initially constructs what seems like a compelling humanitarian appeal.
Small boats, risking life and limb for themselves, their children, often with nothing to go back to, coming from absolutely obliterated, to enforce laws, moreover, to return people who come by illegal means, which
She paints a picture of desperate people fleeing war zones, seeking safety on British shores because they have no legal pathways available to them. It's the classic narrative we've heard countless times from pro-migration advocates. These people are victims of circumstance with no choice but to risk dangerous crossings. But within minutes, her carefully constructed argument begins to crumble under its own contradictions. When pushed just slightly, she admits something remarkable.
Emotional kind of language out of it. This is a numbers game. This is an issue with the number of people who are coming here on small. I'm actually dubious whether that's even legal under international law. Say we get all of that in place. It's not going to stop people from coming.
Many of these migrants aren't coming directly from conflict zones at all. They're travelling through France and Spain, safe European nations with well-established asylum systems. The contradiction is glaring and immediate. If safety from war is truly the primary motivation, why bypass multiple safe countries with functioning legal systems designed specifically to process asylum claims? This single contradiction exposes the fragility of the entire fleeing war narrative. The inconsistency suggests something else is driving these dangerous channel crossings. Not just safety, but potentially more favourable economic conditions or benefits available in the UK. When confronted with this logical gap, notice how quickly her argument shifts ground. Suddenly, we're hearing about economic contributions and cultural enrichment rather than humanitarian necessities.
Have we ever stopped to question why we have so many people trying to come to the UK? Is the world a safer place? If we set aside the fact that these aren't just people and just look at the hard numbers, the Illegal Migration Act will give more powers to control the borders.
What's particularly telling is her emotional reaction when the host points out this inconsistency. Rather than addressing the logical problem head-on, she becomes defensive and agitated. This is a classic rhetorical retreat. When the facts don't support your position, appeal to emotion instead. But emotional appeals, while powerful, don't change the underlying reality of the situation. The host then introduces a compelling counterpoint by referencing the Australian immigration model. Australia, despite its geographical challenges, has successfully implemented a system that combines strict border enforcement with clear legal immigration pathways. The suggestion that the UK could benefit from a similarly robust approach sparks visible discomfort from the migrant advocate. When the host acknowledges the UK's much more vulnerable coastline compared to Australia's relatively isolated geographic position, he's highlighting a legitimate policy challenge.
Australia is genuinely an island in the middle of nowhere, very hard to get to, unlike the UK, which is...
Could we be boosting those numbers?
There is nothing... Listen, I'm not against controlling the border. I do agree with you that... And we're not serving taxpayers. Nobody is winning in this situation. A refugee who comes to this country doesn't want to be in a detention centre.
Britain's proximity to mainland Europe creates unique border security issues that require tailored solutions. But rather than engaging with this policy complexity, the the migrant advocate again retreats to emotional appeals. One of the most revealing moments comes when the host presses her on her own immigration status. Her sudden discomfort and reluctance to discuss her personal journey raises intriguing questions. If migration policies are working as intended, why the hesitation to share her own experience? This reluctance creates a credibility gap that undermines her position as an objective advocate for current migration approaches. The conversation takes another telling turn when economic factors enter the discussion. As her humanitarian argument continues to unravel, the economic pull factors become increasingly apparent. Higher benefits, accommodation assistance, and perceived economic opportunities emerge as the more likely drivers behind these dangerous journeys, not immediate safety concerns. This explains why migrants pass through multiple safe countries before attempting to reach the UK specifically. This debate exposes something many politicians seem reluctant to acknowledge.
A battering ram, something to have over the British public. So whenever the government went into disarray, they had something to point at and went, look over there, there's some illegals. For the last 14 years, it was obvious that the previous government did not care about the migrants coming in or processing them.
The distinction between refugees fleeing immediate danger and economic migrants seeking better opportunities. Both situations deserve compassion, but they require different policy responses.
Then when Keir Starmer took office, is it a more volatile place? What's happening in those countries to ensure that people don't actually make the perilous? It's not going to stop people from coming. The question here at hand, if we take away the flowery language, is what do we do with them once they're here?
Conflating the two undermines our ability to help those in genuine crisis, while also maintaining controlled, legal immigration systems. The migrant's inability to reconcile these contradictions ultimately weakens her entire position. Her argument falls victim to its own internal contradictions, revealing that emotional appeals often mask more complex motivations. When stripped of rhetorical flourishes, we're left with a fundamental question that demands honest assessment. Are current policies addressing the actual drivers of migration? Or are they based on narratives that collapse under minimal scrutiny? What we've just witnessed isn't merely an individual's emotional outburst, but a textbook example of how immigration debates typically unravel. When confronted with logical fallacies, advocates frequently abandon reasoned discourse in favour of character attacks and emotional deflection. The path forward demands honesty. We need a system that distinguishes between those genuinely fleeing persecution and those seeking economic advancement. As the research suggests, implementing controlled, legal immigration pathways while addressing what happens to migrants once they arrive is crucial. The current system remains in disarray, a fact both sides might agree on. Perhaps looking to Australia's hard-line approach offers a template worth considering: firm borders paired with transparent legal routes.